Well, since it is 9:06, we will go ahead and get started with at least we'll do the housekeeping first, and then I'll let Bruce call the meeting to order. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Deanna Garner. I'm the host. I'm the Recycling Market Development Program Manager for IDEM's Office of Program Support. All microphones are currently muted. We will be taking questions and comments from the public at today's meeting. Please wait until the end of the meeting when we open that up for comments, unless we are calling on you for a specific topic on the agenda. At the conclusion of the presentations, all participants will be able to unmute themselves and ask those questions and comments. If you have a question or technical issue during the presentation, please use the raise hand or chat feature. Also at this time, if you can please write your name and affiliation in the chat box. That will be how we are able to take attendance for today. So and I'm gonna ask that again as people join, but please include your name and affiliation in the chat box. Thank you. A little information about how to raise your hand or the chat feature. At the bottom or top of your screen, depending on the device, you'll see a menu bar. You maybe have to move your mouse or touch your screen for the menu bar to pop up. In the middle of that menu, there is a chat icon, which you can click on to show the chat dialog. You should also see the raise hand option. Please utilize the raise hand or chat features if you have any questions or comments, and you'll be called upon at the appropriate time. For those of you on the phone, Jenny, and I know there may be a few others, if you have a question or comment, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And we will call on you at the appropriate time. Also, when called upon, you'll need to unmute your phone by pressing *6. For everyone in today's meeting, please identify yourself when speaking. If any members of the media have joined us, please utilize the chat feature or email media@idem.in.gov if you have any questions or would like to schedule an interview. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on IDEM's website at recycle.in.gov. With that, I will turn our meeting over to our board chair, Bruce Burrow, who will be leading today's meeting.
Good morning, all. I guess I'll call the November 5th, 2020 meeting of the Indiana Recycling Market Development Board to order. I would like to welcome everyone. We have some new board members, and Deanna, I apologize, I don't have my roster, but I believe Sandy is new to the voting members, and welcome. Craig Lutz, good morning and welcome. I believe we have Debbie Hackman on the call, and good morning, Debbie. Welcome to the meeting. And who am I missing, Deanna?
Andrew Noonan.
Oh, there you are, Andrew. Andrew Noonan will be a new voting member, and we're very pleased to have him on board. So welcome to everyone. I would like to go around, and I will start, but out of curiosity, I just want to, because we do have some time today, I want to ask each and every member what drew them to become or request membership in this board, because we greatly appreciate everybody's involvement and comments, but just out of curiosity, what drew you to this board? Personally, I remember back about 12, 13 years, I attended a meeting and a gentleman from New Genesis approached me and convinced me that it was in my best interest to be involved with this organization in my role that I was currently serving with Rumpke Waste and Recycling. And I've never regretted one moment of it. It's had its peaks and valleys, as Deanna can share with you. But I think we do good work, and I'm very proud of the work we do. So with that, I'll pass it along to Matt.
Okay, thanks. Basically, I got involved with the board. I was kind of working with the Indiana Recycling Coalition. I would go to their conferences and got to know some of the people there. And with my knowledge in the in municipal recycling, being head of the city of Fort Wayne's solid waste department, they felt I would be I'd be a good fit for this board, since I have a lot of knowledge on what we do as a city as far as getting recycling going and improving our programs. So they recommended that I sit on the board, and that's kind of how I got started.
Thank you, Matt. Sandy, as a new board member, what drew you to the board?
Well, I'm very excited. Deanna reached out to me to invite me to be on the board. And as someone, as a director of the Dearborn County Solid Waste Management District, we've received a couple of IDEM grants, and I'm very pleased to be a part of this group now to help further recycling in Indiana. I think this is a great opportunity to be involved in furthering that ventures for all of us. So,
Well, thank you for your interest and your participation. Mr. Noonan?
So I talked with Deanna, working with her very closely, and then also kind of, sentimental, or going back to what Sandy said, ERI has been blessed with being given 2 grants from the state, and I was involved in the last one directly. So it was kind of one of those things where now it's, okay, how can I help give back to the state by helping other companies or helping the state? Since we've received twice, it's time to give back. And when Deanna reached out, I thought it was an awesome opportunity to be able to also network and gain some knowledge from the state, but also from the other people involved on the board. So I'm very blessed to be part of this, and look forward to going down the road and learning stuff over the next 4 years with all you all. So thank you.
Andrew, I think you provide us with a bit of opportunity to learn. During your grant process, were there any recommendations that you may share with the board to make our process better for the applicants?
Well, I feel like we filled out a mortgage application when we did the app. I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's daunting. But everything that we have to go through with all the red tape, I think it's necessary so that we cover all the T's and we dot all the I's from that standpoint. And then the follow-up on the backside that you guys do to see that the completion is done of the projects and the money is being used properly, I think is very thorough. So I think the process is good, but as we go through it and I learn how the board part of it works, I think I'm gonna be able to get some knowledge from that standpoint. So I just need a little time to see how this front end works to help give you guys some better feedback.
Well, thank you. Kelly, how are you this morning?
I am good. I am working from a hotel today, actually all week. So I apologize that my lighting is a little bit bad, but it is what it is. And I'll just share, it's for me, I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to remember exactly, but that someone reached out to us as well at Purdue MEP and was looking for representation from us. And as the sustainability coordinator for the state of Indiana for Purdue MEP, I thought it was a great opportunity. I was excited to learn more about what people are doing and just kind of have enjoyed, honestly, hearing about a lot of the projects and reading through all the applications, because there's a lot of creativity and a lot of excitement for being innovative and pushing things forward.
Good, thank you. And one of our new board members, Mr. Lutz. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, sir. So why? Well, first and foremost, I'm honored and appreciated to be considered on the board. Like yourself, Mr. Burrow, I've been with in the hauling, processing, collection side of the business for a number of years now with Republic Services, and I think this is just an opportunity to give back, to help in promoting good recycling markets, good materials that flow through. There's a lot of change that has gone on in the recycling industry. It's not, and I think this is just an opportunity that we can help in getting the word out, doing the right thing, getting the right material, and helping this business model become a durable and sustainable for the state of Indiana and as a whole. And anytime we can help in that knowledge and that give back to keep this recycling market durable is I think critical for the longevity.
Good, thank you. Debbie, I see some funny little things going on with your icon on the screen. Can you hear me? She may be having some connection issues currently. Are there any other board members that I've missed? Well, first and foremost, I would like to say that under Julia's leadership.
Come on in.
I'm sorry? I see a phone number of 765-762. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Jenny from Warren County. Somebody came in my door, and I didn't realize I was not muted. So I'm good. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. As I was saying, under Julie's leadership and Deanna's hard work with Tom and all the staff, and then we have Miss Pat Daniels, who is kind of like our knowledge base behind the scenes. We're very blessed to have such a good team to work with. Tom is kind of the brains of the activities in the field, and we rely on him heavily. And with the support of Senator Burrow, Representative Arrington, Representative Shively, I'm sorry for mispronouncing that. We appreciate everyone's support, and I'm very, very excited with this new team. I think over my tenure on this board that we've made a considerable impact, but it's never enough. And I think we have a lot of work to do ahead of us, and we look forward to it. So with all of that, does anyone have any comments?
Bruce, I think that Debbie might be able to say hi now to us and introduce herself.
Oh, Debbie's got her mask on her puppy. Okay.
That's to be on somebody's, yeah. This is Debbie Hackman, and I'm honored to be part of this group. I'm a member of the Solid Waste District Directors from Jackson County. I also serve with RCAP to help the small communities with the recycling programs. I got a lot of questions about what is the Recycle Market Development Group looking for? What kind of projects do they want to fund? So I start coming to the meetings to get the answers to those questions, and got very interested in what you do and how it's done and all the communities that you help. So I'm honored to be part of this group.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item of business, and it'll be the approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes of the previous meeting? I guess with that moment of silence, I would assume everyone has. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
I'll make a motion. This is
Motion
Kelly.
by Ms. Uyghur, and do I have a second?
I'll second that. This is Matt Gratz.
Second by Mr. Gratz. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? With that, motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is an update, an item update by Ms. Julia Wickard. Julia?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and hello, everybody. I can't get used to this. I still think we look like a big Brady Bunch family. So it's good to see everybody. First of all, I want to congratulate our legislators who had elections this week. I'm glad our votes are counted in Indiana and decisions are made. So congratulations to them, and we're glad of your service that can continue with our team. I don't think I know Bruce introduced them, but we really appreciate you championing recycling and sustainability efforts in the State House. So thank you so much. So I just have a few updates. Deanna, Tom, Bruce, and I were able to join Debbie Hackman down in Jackson County on Friday and attended a ribbon cutting for the Rumpke Recycling facility that was actually partially funded through the Recycling Market Development Board. I'm really excited that we were able to be there and to join in that celebration of that important recycling and endeavor in Jackson County. And so it was a great, and it was great to be there. I just wanted you to know that we represented you at the meeting. I actually presented on behalf of kind of IDEM recycling, and certainly talked about the Recycling Market Development Board and all of the work you have done over a period of time on recycling and the efforts that have been economic development and job creation standpoint. There's on October 5th in the Senate chamber. I know there's some probably listening on this call that were either in the chamber or phoned in via Zoom or were in another room. And it was great to be able to share the work that the Recycling Market Development Board has done over the years. There were over 2.5 hours of testimony, not only from me, I didn't speak for 2 hours, but also folks within the industry that shared the work of recycling and the circular economy. And it was a really good effort, and really thank our legislators, Representative Arrington, Representative Shively, Senator Breaux, and Senator Buchanan, who were all in attendance at that event and that important study committee. I think Chairman Gutwein expressed some interest, and I actually had some follow-up with him afterwards. And so excited to see what the future may hold for recycling efforts in a State House and work that we can do collectively between the executive and legislative branch. So excited to see where that all goes. So again, thank you to our elected officials for helping to get that on the radar. We actually, and you're going to hear from some of those reports, but by November 1, we are required as an agency to submit legislative reports to the Legislative Services Agency that then transpose those and get those to legislators. And so you're going to hear from that a couple of those reports later this morning, but a big shout out to our recycling team who really carried the ball within our IDEM staff in putting together supports that shared a lot of information, and that information available on our website, and may add about that later. And then I know we have Cameron on the call who's going to give the e-waste report, but we have an exciting event, 2 events coming up in the next few weeks on e-waste recycling around the State House campus. We've reached out to the legislative branch as well to make sure they are aware that we will be having a drive-through touchless e-waste recycling drive downtown for government center employees, although it's open to the public in the next few weeks. So we're excited that we can bring that to the government center in the next few weeks. So, and the only other thing I just want to share is I continue to be impressed with the team that I work with at IDEM, our recycling work. All of our team members are on, Pat, Deanna, Tom, Cameron, Allison, and Jacob's not on today, but just really appreciate each of their leadership and their willingness to step up and step out and talk about recycling to those that just may not have the complete story. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield my time back to you. And if you have questions, you can certainly entertain those.
All right.
Thank you.
Any questions from any board members?
It looks like Senator Burrow, you have something you would like to say?
No, I was just trying to applaud her saying thank you to congratulating us on our reelection, and I hit the raise hand, but I ended up putting it in the chat. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we can move on to the next agenda item, which will be the status of existing grants. And Deanna, I believe you're responsible for an update on this.
Yes, thank you, Bruce. Grants are moving forward. We have still wrapping up previous year grants, and now we're working on the grants awarded in September to get those grant agreements in place. So I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight a few specific grants. First, I wanted to start and introduce Jenny Hoba from Warren County Solid Waste Management District. She is actually just wrapping up her grant as well, but we did get a chance to do a site visit. And if some of the board members remember, she applied 2 years in a row, which we applaud that because it shows that that second year effort. She got her award the first year. She was looking for some help with the building in addition to the glass pulverizer. And as the board knows, we have some problems when it comes to awarding grant money for buildings. But Tom and I got to do a site visit there at that building, and that they were able to actually put up. And then we awarded the glass pulverizer and a few drop-off recycling bins. And that building is just, Tom and I were very impressed. It's a nice drive-through facility. I'm going to actually share some pictures of it while she's talking. But I just wanted to give her a chance to talk about also and answer any questions you guys have about the grant award that she got and the equipment and how she's using it effectively. And the other thing, Jenny, that I thought that you could talk about is since you're a unique, well, you're not so unique, but we have different kinds of solid waste management districts in Indiana. And I want the board to be aware of all the differences. I thought it was interesting seeing your rural community where there's no curbside recycling available, and the success of your drop-off recycling bins. And even with, I love the story of the contamination that you guys experience when there is people who drop off unwanted items, and how one picture will share to the community, and someone somewhere knows exactly what that item is. And that item is picked back up the next day. So if you could just share a little with us, I'd appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Deanna, and good morning to the board. And again, I just want to say thank you from the Indiana Recycling Market Development Board for the funding that Warren County did receive. Like Deanna said, I applied 2 years in a row. The first year I applied, I was pretty depleted after I left the meeting, but you know, you just don't give up. You try and try and try again, and when you're working towards something for such a small community, you just keep trying, and that's what we decided to do. And applying the second year, and of course we received the funding, and we were extremely happy and very appreciative of what we were be able to do with the funding. Like Deanna said, we built a new building. My first application was for brick and mortar to build a new facility. Warren County has had the funding for a new facility. The reasoning asking for funding from the board was to build a bigger facility, but with what we did and the funding we had, it worked out great. We built a 50 by 100 square foot building, some with storage, work area, and a drive-through. And it's really nice, and I'm really happy with it. It works out great for the community. The community is very appreciative, and we get more positive remarks than we do negative. We're very proud of the facility. I am a stickler, and I do watch film, and not only are we proud of the facility, but the residents are too. And if I have things that are there that should not be there, I do post it on Facebook, post pictures, who is this, come and get it, and 9 times out of 10 they do come and get it. And very successful that way. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just trying to keep a facility as nice as we have nice. And with the help of the residents, it has worked out really nice. But as you see the pictures, that's the back of our building as the trucks come in. These are our homemade trailers that we have a gentleman actually who works at the highway department who builds these bins for us. They are parked. We have maybe 8 or 9 of these that are parked throughout Warren County. I have 3 full-time employees, and we have a route that we run weekly that either switches them out or we bring them back to the facility, we empty them, and we take them back to where they came from. The workout great. This was put in place before I started 4 years ago. We've added a couple. We have those set at the schools. They're just really handy. You can see by the trailers we use a skid steer to lift them up, take them to the balers, dump them, put them back on, and take them out where they've been. So it's pretty. Our process is down. It works really well for Warren County, and I'm just really proud of the residents because each of those bins are marked, and it's very rarely that we get things that shouldn't go in those bins, and that says a lot for the community also. As far as the grant allowed us to buy a glass pulverizing machine, and this machine is really a neat machine. There it is right there. It's all self-contained, and it literally pulverizes that bottle to sand. The sand, we are located right next door to the highway department, so the product that this machine makes is used. We utilize it in the highway department, and we don't use it on the roads, but we do use it for fill dirt. We mix it in with fill dirt, with ditches, and with culverts and things like that. So it's a material that is created and then again used in a good way. We're not just throwing it along the road, or we're not just throwing it away. We are actually, kind of putting it back into the earth, I guess you can say. But it's a neat machine. There's the material. The little basket is the labels, so the people don't have to worry about removing labels. And what's on the other side is basically sand. Those bigger pieces is labels that didn't get into the smaller bin, but that's the product that it creates, and it's a great little machine. It really is. I'm just very impressed with it. These are built to order, so once we ordered it, we did have to wait, and then the COVID did cause some delays. But for the most part, we received it pretty timely, and we're putting it to good work. You know, it's trial and error, of course, but once we got it down and realized what we were doing, it's worked out great. And we have a few businesses that is thrilled that we have this, and along with the residents, we get quite a bit of glass in, so it's worked out great, and it's a great little machine. As far as the bins, we also received a grant for some new cardboard bins. We didn't have those yet when Deanna and Tom visited, but we do have them now, and those will replace some that are old and have been sitting at different locations for a long time. And we have a trailer, and Warren County just opened up. I guess not opened up, but we just put 140 some windmills in our northern part of our county, and that cardboard trailer will go up to the windmill office where they will do the recycling from there. So, but again, you know, I'm just really happy with our facility. The guys work hard to keep it all clean and nice, and the community is very appreciative, and we do quite a bit for Little Warren County, and I think that's something for not only myself, my employees, but the residents should be proud of.
Well, Jenny, I commend you in looking at the pictures. You obviously run a very nice, clean operation. I don't believe I can see one spot on the floor that needs room. So commend you for that. So keep up the good work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Jenny, could you, where are you, just let the board know, where are you all collecting those glass bottles from? Because it's part residence and it's part commercial, or is it a bar or something too as well?
Yeah, we have 2 bars in Warren County that we collect from, and then most of it's the residents. We also have a winery in Warren County, in the northern part of town. No, excuse me, in the northern part of the county, who called me and said, "Hey, can we bring our empty wine bottles?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, bring them over." And they bought me skids of them. It just wasn't a box or so; it was skids of them. So we do have 3 strong businesses that bring them to us, or that we pick up actually, and then all the rest of it has come from our residents. And I don't have any. We didn't have any pictures of how much we collected, but once I said we were taking glass, it was amazing. We got to joking over at the recycling center when we were talking about, is Warren County full of alcoholics? We're not sure, but there sure is a lot of bottles here. So, and a lot of people save them. A lot of people didn't know what to do with them, so they stockpiled them. And when we did receive the grant, I did put it out there that at some point we would begin taking glass, and I think people just started stockpiling it from that moment on. They hated to throw it away. Lots of phone calls. What do we do with glass? I just don't want to throw it in the dumpster. I don't want it to end up in landfill. And so I would say 50-50. Some came from the bars and wineries, and the other ones came from our residents. So
I also wanted to point out to our board members that if you saw those collection bins they have, it's all source separated materials. So Jenny, did you want to speak about that? And if the residents have any problems with, doing a drop off that they have to separate then their materials?
We've always had this for many years. We've had these bins and the separation, and it's the residents are good with it. I've never had a phone call. I don't go out and say that there's cardboard in our plastic. We're going to have some, but it's very minimal. I don't sit and watch my cameras all day long, but they are on, and you see people drive through, and or I'll check it at night when I come in the mornings and people come through and they take their time. It's a drive-through, so they're out of the weather, and they do. They separate it, even with their bins that we have setting throughout the county. People just, they put it where it belongs, and it just shows you the respect from our residents and the appreciation from our residents.
Jenny, I may have missed it, but what is it that you do with your glass once you process it?
That was my question.
Yeah, once we process it, I work closely with the Warren County Highway Department. In fact, my office is within their office, and we use it. We dump it. What we create, the product that we create, we dump it in our land, in our fill dirt that we fill when we put a culvert in. If we need fill dirt near a new bridge under it, and it doesn't. When I say that, I mean along the pilings and stuff. So the highway utilizes every bit of it. We do not, and we will not at this point, put it in our sand, like for sand and calcium we use for winter. There's just not a lot of information out there about putting this product on the road, and I guess you can say we just don't want the headaches at the highway department if people find out that we're putting glass on the road, which it's sand, and that's what glass is, but we don't. We use it mainly in our fill dirt for culverts and any other things we have to bury or fill things in at. So.
Well, good. Thank you, and congratulations to you. It looks like you're doing a wonderful job.
Well, we thank you. And again, we just want to say thank you to the board. You guys made it possible for us to get this machine, and I can't thank you enough.
Can I ask a quick question? Will there ever be an opportunity for you to really process more than you're doing today? To fill just the culverts that you might be able to then, if another company needs glass, that you would be able to provide for that with this machine, and would your current operation allow you to do that, or would you have to expand in order to accommodate any additional growth?
I think at this point, I know that Tippecanoe County has reached out to me about accepting their bottles for us to process. And I told them that I thought that was obviously a probability, but we wanted to see how much we processed, how long it took to take care of it. I only have 3 full-time employees, so the employee who mainly runs it is when he's not emptying the bins that are coming in and out. So I wouldn't be able to handle a lot of it. I'm afraid it would stockpile on me if I reach out to too many different counties or others who would want me to process their glass. But it is definitely something that we can look at down the road. But it's
okay.
And and it really doesn't. We've done several bottles. We've done several pieces of glass, and it doesn't really make that much product. One little bottle, we've probably, we really haven't measured. We just dump it in in the dirt and go on. So I can't tell you how much we've collected or how much of the sand that has collected over with the bottles that we've used in the pulverizer. But, it's a machine that I'm definitely willing to help once we get it narrowed down here. I'm willing to help any of my neighboring counties, who has issues of trying to get rid of glass.
But that could be a future business expansion.
Oh, yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely.
Vinny, I think too that second part of that question is taking more glass, but also in markets. Would you consider?
Yeah.
I think Senator Burrow was wondering about considering
absolutely.
other uses besides the highway department. Selling
you mean
back to,
okay? I see what you're saying. I have not even looked into that, but that is something that definitely could be done. If the machine would produce something that other companies could use, yeah, I would definitely look into that or be interested in that. I haven't looked into it. I haven't even thought about it until right now, actually. So that is something, if we find that we are creating a lot of sand, that we could definitely look into. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you. Well, I'm glad we were able to support you.
Thank you so much.
Do we have any other questions for Jenny? Well, I just wanted to thank you again, Jenny. I think that your solid waste management district is a great model that we can look at, and your project is looking great. Your facility is nice and clean. So we appreciate your work on the project.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you to the board for the funding and for your support. It is greatly appreciated.
No problem. We're going to go ahead and move on. And on the agenda, we have GT Environmental next with their recycling study, but we're going to switch it around since we have Cox Recycling here on the line, and let them go ahead and speak to us briefly to give an update on their project. If you recall, we funded them for an asphalt recycler and the rejuvenator mix that you use in the process. I'm going to go ahead. Jerry, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. If you guys want to give an update, I know that you've had some struggles working with the city of Anderson and getting a hot mix, recycled content mix that's sticking. So you're kind of looking for some networking and advice from the board. You had mentioned kind of why we originally were going to have you on of selling the piece of equipment. I know at this time you've put a halt to the idea of selling. I have bought a new rejuvenator mix that you're testing out and still working with the city of Anderson to get them to use the product. But can you give us a little bit more update or add to what I have said?
Yeah, Deanna, I also want to introduce my son, Corey Cox, is with the company now, and he's involved in this also. But to go back, I think it was 2 years ago when we first started this out, I think the company we bought the machine from, they also supplied the rejuvenator to put in with the asphalt, or what we call a wrap. And we just, being new, not knowing exactly what we were doing, we put it out really quick, and we had some failures where the mix was not staying in the potholes, and that kind of, I think, gave people a bad impression of what our product was, and so that kind of hurt us. In fact, last year we didn't sell any asphalt at all, and but in the meantime, we have not given up. We have found like you mentioned, a new rejuvenator, and we've been using it. And in fact, we've got 2 large holes. You've been to my place before, our entryway. Several triaxle trucks and tandem trucks and all kinds of trucks come through that entryway, and they cross over these 2 holes that we have patched in our entryway. And we've done that about 4 months ago, and so far it's looking really, really good. I am in contact now again with Dave Ickes, which is the assistant mayor of Anderson, and we also the road cuts for Anderson, like when the water company has a break or whatever, then we are the company that puts the final coat of asphalt on all these cuts. The problem we have there is in the wintertime, the asphalt plant shut down. And so you can't buy asphalt. Probably within another maybe 3 or 4 weeks, they will be shutting down. So the problem is, what do you do with these holes all winter long? Like last year, what they decided to do is just put more concrete in the hole, and which only leaves about 1 inch or sometimes less then a gap there to fill in with asphalt. Well, the problem is I don't care what kind of asphalt material you use or where you get it at. If you don't get an inch and a half to 2 inches of asphalt in the hole, then it's not going to work. So we're kind of working with them if they will accept the material that we've got now and give us another shot and try it out. Then what I'm telling them is that we can do the holes as they're needed. Like, and one of the reasons is they don't want to leave the holes barricaded for very long because of the traffic. But they pour the concrete in one day. If we can be in there the next day and fill the hole in, then they've got a permanent fix. And we're doing that all winter long. So when springtime comes here, you know, there are no holes. When we started up this past spring, I think we, once the asphalt company opened up, there was like 75 holes that we had to go out and patch that was setting over the winter time. So that's kind of where we're at. When we haven't given up, it's just, you know, as I told you, if we can't get this thing going into where we can sell the material, then obviously, you know, and we are very grateful for the grant and the money you guys put up. But at the same time, you know, we put it 50% up too, and we have a loan on that we have to pay for. But that's not our end goal. That's not what we want. We got in this because we believed in it and we wanted to make it work. And I still think we have the opportunity to do that, especially with this new rejuvenator, and hopefully we'll be successful this time.
Mr. Cox, the rejuvenator, is that a chemical compound that you're adding to the mix?
Yes, it comes in different forms depending on the companies. The original company, which is also affiliated with the people we bought the machine off of. And I will tell you, the machine we're very happy with. It works the way it should. It takes a little bit longer to cook the material, but it comes in different forms. The rejuvenator that we're trying out now and using now is actually a liquid form. The one that we very first started with come in packets, like they're 2.5 pound packets, and had plastic on them. Kind of felt like clay or rubber. I mean, they were black, but you could squeeze them. They were pliable. And then we've also tried another company, which we were kind of successful with it too, that was also a liquid form.
And in your marketing efforts, are you reaching out to anyone other than Anderson? Have you looked into possibly parking lot repairs, those kinds of things, I would imagine?
Yeah, and then that takes us to another level of where, you know, we would have to grow as a company. I mean, we do it for the city of Anderson, but as far as going out to the commercial people, we have not done that yet. But at the same time, you know, we don't feel like we can until we know we've got a good product that we can sell and stand behind. But yeah, eventually, definitely, you know, the commercial industry, like, you know, you drive through the parking lots of different places every day and you see the holes. So, and then the other thing is we can reach out to other companies that do repairs, pothole repairs in the wintertime. So, but the very first thing we got to do is we got to get a product that we can stand behind, and that's what we're still working on.
Good. Well, I think I can speak for the board that we would, we greatly want to see you succeed. We want to make sure the investment has a return for you and for the state. And we'll try to work with you as best we can. But if there's anything that you feel that we can do as a board, please don't hesitate to call Deanna and inform her of that. And the members on the board, I'm sure, will be happy to try to accommodate you.
Yeah, and Deanna has spoken with me that she may have some contacts that throughout the state or whatever through the state that may be able to help us, and hopefully her and I can get together, keep communicating, and she can send me, you know, this information. Because I mean, we're willing to listen to anybody at this point, you know, to try to make this thing a good product.
My final question for you, your rejuvenated asphalt asphalt compound. The price point of that compared to the regular cold mix or hot mix asphalt, is it comparable?
It's a little more expensive than buying it from the asphalt companies in the summertime because they can make it in such a big volume. But when you pair it to the cold patch, which you probably know about, that doesn't work. I mean, it's better than nothing. But price-wise with cold patch, we're right at the same price.
Okay, good, thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions from the board members?
I just wanted to give a small update. One of the, to expand on what Jerry said about working with him, we are going to try to get him connected to NDOT, the Department of Transportation, and their materials testing department, so that they can hopefully work with, because they do a lot of experimentation on new techniques and innovations. So hopefully we can get them talking and working on that together, because I think it would be a good pilot project or something for them to work together on. I know currently Jerry mentioned that when NDOT crews come to get anything from them, they won't take recycled asphalt. So we're going to explore that a little bit and help them out in that manner as well. See just to find out more of the story there.
Yeah, and if I could say, this is off the subject just a little bit, but we also recycle concrete. We crush concrete up and we make 53s and 2s. It looks a lot like what you get out of the quarry, except in my opinion is a lot better. And this would be a good way for us to get in with NDOT with that part of it also on the concrete, because as of now, NDOT will not use our crushed concrete on their jobs. Just to give you a quick example, there was a gas station here local that they shut down. The state was paying to pull the tanks and have it cleaned up. And I tried to sell them the material to fill the holes where the tanks were taken out. And they said, no, we can't use that. We've got to go to the quarries because that's the only place that NDOT will let us get the material from. So I would like to enlighten NDOT on how good this product is also, and see if we can possibly see if they would start using that product along with the asphalt product too.
And Julie, we're going to try to help facilitate those communications.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Cox?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cox, for coming and talking to us today. The next update I had of our existing grants is from GT Environmental, Dan Grader, on our Indiana recycling infrastructure and economic impact study. So I will let him have the floor.
Thank you, Deanna, and good morning, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on the infrastructure and economic recycling study. Let me just start by saying, I think last time I reported, I kind of gave you a little overview of how we're set up in the beginning of this project. And basically, just as a kind of a reminder, we're working with IUPUI students that are actually doing a lot of the surveying for the early part of the project. We have 7 graduate students, and each of them are assigned a region in Indiana, and they have anywhere from 4 to 5 undergrad students assigned to help them in that region. There's a total of 7 regions. We have weekly meetings with the graduate students on Wednesday evening. When we talk about the project, any challenges they're having, we walk them through the surveys. I will say that the graduate students are, I think they're doing a very good job. They're very bright and very dedicated and committed to the project. It is, surveying is a very challenging piece of this project. When you send out surveys, in some cases, you don't get a great response, or you have to send out a second survey, or you have to make phone calls. So you really have to be persistent in getting the information. So, just to give you some general stats, the first part of the surveys that we sent out, or actually the students sent out, were the district, the solid waste district surveys. And they've sent out 72 surveys, and 53 have been returned for a 73% response rate. Now, these surveys are pretty detailed too. We're asking a lot of information from the district. You know, we're asking for basically a download of everything that they know about their district. So we'll ask them about the communities in their district, you know, the haulers in their district. So we're getting a lot of good information for each district. And again, each region that we're working on typically has anywhere from 10 to 12 districts in that region, with the only exception being Marion County, we're calling a separate region in itself. So, so the next phase so we're pretty much complete with that. Obviously, there's still a few district surveys outstanding. You know, they're going to try and get those in, as many as they can. The community surveys was the next step. So the idea there was to send out surveys to all the communities in Indiana. And we've sent out over 274 surveys for the communities. Now, with that said, a lot of the districts, or a lot of the communities were telling us that to rely on the district to provide information for the community. So we're going to get a lot of information from the districts about the communities, as well as from the communities themselves. We have about 44 return surveys for 16%. Again, that's on the light end. We're going to try to take a look at that at the completion of the student project to see if we can fill in some more surveys on that. But we also think that the districts are going to provide a great deal of information regarding the communities. And then the end user portion, we've sent out over 540 surveys for end users. Now this one is probably the most challenging one of the surveys that you'll run into, and we've only at this point gotten 10, which is only 2%. So we hope to get a few more of those. With that said, we're also entering into a survey project with the Indiana Manufacturing Association. So, and we're hoping to get their support to get a lot more end user information through that. Now that'll be outside of the student project, and that should probably start in the next month or so for that piece. The students are now moving to the report writing section of the project. So with that, we've given them an actual template of what we want the report to look like. So they're going to download or take all the information they've received from the surveys and all the information that they've received in their region and put it into a actual report format. And that is due on November 20th. So, but again, we have, just to give you some idea of the amount of time that's been put in on this from the students through October 31st have, the graduate students have put in 917 hours on this project. And the undergrad students have put in about 700 hours. So the total is around 1,600 hours through October 31st. So you're going to see that number go up, obviously, through November when they finalize the reports. So, so again, after those reports are completed, we're going to take a look at the data. We're going to kind of take a look at the data that they have, the data that IDEM has with their surveys and retrack, and kind of start to put together the pieces of this project and the information, the data, the volumes, and so on. And then we're going to look to Indiana Manufacturing Association for some supplemental, end user information. And then probably in the next couple of months, we're going to take, one of the things that the students did was they identified recycling programs infrastructure out in the state. And we're going to actually start generating maps of locations of all the infrastructure. So that's going to take place in December and January probably. And then once we get all this data kind of put together, the second phase of this project is going to start, and we're working with the Indiana University Public Policy Institute, and they have that in-plan economic model that they use. So we're going to take the data And we're going to start talking to them probably in the next month or so, because we want to start nailing down exactly, you know, the most important pieces. And we've already been talking to them, but, you know, starting the project. So probably in the first quarter of 2021 is when we're going to take the data that we've accumulated, again, through the student project, through IDEM, through supplemental sources that we have. And then we're going to use that as the input into the model to come up with the economic impact of recycling and what the opportunities are and so on. And we'll be able to assess, you know, once that's complete, then we're going to start to be able to assess, you know, infrastructure needs, you know, where the material's going, economic development opportunities, and so on. Again, the project final report's due in June. So, you know, we're going to work, that's kind of the last phase of the project. So, and I plan, Deanna and I were talking at the next meetings in February, I plan to have maybe more information to show in a more formal PowerPoint presentation at that time. So, because we should be pretty far along by February. So anyway, that's my summary of where we're at. Are there any questions from anybody?
Has there been any one specific issue that may have come back that's somewhat glaring and maybe a hopeful opportunity?
Not at this time. I really don't have any. I hope that we have a number of great insight into the system. I have some gut feelings on things, but I really don't want to say at this point what I think. But I think when we get into this more, I think probably in the next couple of months we'll have some better insight. That was one of the key points that I asked, and we're asking the students to you know, give us insight in their regions as far as what they're seeing, what they're hearing, you know, opportunities that they see. So, you know, I hope to hear from them as well, exactly what they're seeing.
Any other questions from board members?
Yes, my question is, how long is the survey, and how many questions how long is the survey, and is there a way for the board member to help move along some of those non-responses? Can the board follow up in any way? Can we send out a letter or something to that effect that will assist? Because I'm presuming getting that information back from, as long as it's not too cumbersome, is it a very long survey, and what kind of questions are being asked?
Yeah, well, okay, so the survey there's 3 surveys, and you know, they are somewhat comprehensive. They're not something you can fill out in 5 minutes typically. You have to put a little bit of time into it. But the way that we set them up was the survey is only as long as your specific circumstances with your entity. So in other words, some of the first questions we ask you, when you answer those questions, it kicks out additional questions for the survey. So, you know, we'll ask, like, for instance, for the end users, we'll ask, you know, are you a processor or an end user or a broker? And depending on which button you push, there's a certain set of questions that are related to that. So with respect to the specific survey to the needs of that person or that entity, I don't think it's overly long. You know, I think if you pushed every button, it would seem, you know, pretty long. But a lot of the questions are somewhat repetitive too. But we want to make sure that we tailor it to the specific, you know, or give them an opportunity to give us information about their company. I would say, I think that the communities probably are a bit of a challenge. I think what the students have to do is the students are starting by going online and first of all, they're identifying all the cities in their region, and then they're going online and trying to come up with a contact person. You know, the majority of these surveys are sent out by email. So we wanted to stay away from written surveys. So we have to get an email address. So it can be somewhat cumbersome. You know, when you get the email address, send it out, If you don't get a response, you send out a second one, maybe make a phone call. So it can be, the surveying can be, again, you have to be persistent, and it is challenging. So I think at this point, I think the cities, the districts have done pretty good because they're used to, retrack and reporting numbers. So the districts overall did well. The communities are probably having a little tougher time because they're not typically used to reporting. But with that said, I think, and again, we have to look at the final report, but I think the district surveys are going to fill in quite a bit for the communities as well. My hope is that the Indiana Manufacturing Association, I've had a couple of discussions with them, and they seem very excited about the project. And my hope is that they can really push the project and push the survey so we can get a lot of responses from them.
So there's nothing that you think that we as a board can do? Is there any way to maybe incentivize participation? Something creative that we could enter their name in a lottery to win a recycling machine or something? I don't know. Is there something that we can do to kind of incentivize people to take on this project of completing the survey?
I guess I'll ask Deanna too if she has any thoughts on that. I welcome any assistance and all assistance in any any way that we can do that.
Maybe we could do a letter from either the legislators or all the board members encouraging you to, that this is an important project that we really need your assistance in completing. But I would also think that would be great if we could put a little carrot in there somehow,
Sure.
something to incentivize them to want to spend the time, take the time, because, everybody's busy and dealing with COVID and all that. And to put another item that's really not part of what they're required to do on top of their daily needs, daily responsibilities might be asking a bit much.
That does definitely provide some additional, hardships on getting the results back during the COVID, and people are dealing with a lot. So we can look into ideas of incentives, and the cover letter is a great idea. Actually, Dan and I have talked about that, and we'll be creating one of those. We've also briefly talked about yesterday, there is the Association of Indiana Municipality, I think it's called AIMS. I know that some of my coworkers have contacts within their organization that we will reach out to as well to get additional community outreach for the surveys.
Okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
That's my only comment.
Yeah, the hope is that if we can get a good contact list and get some support from the city organization and then also the Indiana Manufacturing Association, that we can fill in the gaps for the pieces that we already have.
And Sandy,
my thinking is we won't. It won't do us any good to do this project if we don't get the data from the folks on the front end of this whole thing. So it's important to get them to somehow or another take the time to fill out that survey.
Yeah, and again, Indiana or IDEM has a lot of data already too, with respect to processors and some end users as well. So when you do a project like this, it's the challenging part is gathering the data, and typically you have to use multiple sources to really get the data together. And then you're never going to get, it's impossible or practically impossible to get 90 to 100% survey returns. Oftentimes it's just kind of the nature of the beast. But with that said, we're going to keep working at it. Like you said, it's very important to get good data on the front end. And I believe that the Indiana University, they factor that into their model, the information that we get from the surveys and the other data as well. With that said, I do want to mention that when we do the end user surveys, we use a search engine that's pretty detailed, and it's called Reference USA. don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but I mean, we're getting, from that, you put in NAICS codes, which identify the type of company that it is, whether it's a, recycler, glass recycler, rubber recycler, whatever, steel, you name it. They all have their own identifiers, which are those NAICS codes. So you put those into the search engine, and it kicks out all the companies in that region. And it gives you a lot of information. It gives you an approximation of the number of employees, gives you their address, so you get a lot of good information. Now, that's not a complete survey, but it does provide a lot of good information, and the students have done that for all their regions. And so some of the larger regions have, I would say almost 1,000 end users or more, especially in the areas up along Chicago, the Northwest, the center of the state, and so on. So we are getting a lot of data from that as well. So, and that, again, is part of this project, is pulling all that data together.
Okay.
Sandy, you have your hand raised.
Well, Deanna,
Yes.
I have to, I'm in my car and I'm at my next location, and so I'm gonna have to get off the call, but I'll take a look at the minutes when they come out, and if there's anything I need to do or know, let me know.
I will. Thank you, Senator Burrow.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
I had my hand raised because I just wanted to ask Dan, this is Sandy with Dearborn County Solid Waste. I just wanted to ask if you plan to give an update to the Association of Indiana Solid Waste Management Districts. We have a Zoom meeting next Thursday, and I didn't know if you had reached out to Kim or if you'd like me to mention it.
Yeah, I would love to. I know I've talked to the districts a number of times, and again, I think overall the districts have done pretty good in returning their surveys back. But I'd be happy to share, what we have so far. Maybe make another request, to them for those that haven't turned it in, and I'd like to get their feedback too. What do they think of the survey and the survey process and so on. So. Again, this data is going to be valuable. Basically, we're going to turn over all this data to IDEM and whoever. It's a great resource for the districts, for IDEM. We're going to have a lot of great maps too that the districts can use that they can as a reference to show them where the location of all the facilities in their district. So, but yes, Sandy, I do appreciate that. And if you'd like to reach out to Kim and then let me know.
Sure.
If you can do that, that would be fantastic. Yeah. Sure.
No problem.
Yep.
Dan, I only have one thought. Our board is blessed with the participation of 2 state senators and 2 state representatives that I'm sure would be more than willing to sign a letter requesting cooperation from the sources that you're trying to acquire information from. Would that be something that would be helpful?
Yes, I believe it would, especially with the if we reach out to the city organization, that would be very helpful, and also the Indiana Manufacturing Association. I think having elected officials throwing their support behind it would really, I'd get some attention and get people taking it seriously. Yeah.
And I know Senator Burowitz left the meeting, but Representative Shibley in Arrington, is that something that is, I guess, permissible in your positions?
Yes, I believe it is. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree also. I think I'd be willing to do it, and I think it would be helpful.
Well, we certainly appreciate your involvement in every meeting. And Deanna, maybe we can help, I guess.
I will draft a letter and I will reach out to you guys within the next week for that.
Wonderful.
We also have Allison Taylor. Allison, are you still on the meeting?
Yes, I am.
Allison is I guess, are you the president of the Indiana Recycling Coalition, Allison?
Oh, that's Allison Mitchell.
Oh, this is Allison Taylor. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the wrong Allison.
Yeah, there are two of us. But I see Marla is on from IRC.
Yeah, I'm here representing the IRC today. I thought Allison Mitchell was going to be on the call as well, but I don't see her on here just yet. So I will reach out to her and see if she's planning on attending.
Well, that would be another possible support for this effort that Dan's undertaking so that we get the best product that we can get.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that, all that support. That would be very helpful. And I know Deanna and I will be talking after the meeting to see how we can integrate all these great ideas into what we're doing. Yeah.
Good. All right, Deanna, anything else?
That covers our status updates for this meeting, so we can move on to the next item agenda.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dan. Let's see, the next item agenda or any comments from any guests or anyone in attendance of the meeting. I'll open it up for comments now.
We actually need to go to the recycling program reports now.
Oh, well, I skipped it. I'm sorry. Thank you. You always keep me on track, Deanna. I can count on that.
So we, for the recycling program reports, we will have the recycling activity summary report. Tom is going to speak a little bit about it. And then Jacob is unable to attend today. So we have Cameron I butchered your name, Machino, presenting for the e-waste, e-cycle report as well. I will be sharing the PowerPoint. So I will work on sharing, and Tom, if you can.
Good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have completed our reports for the recycling activity summary for 2019. And it does give us a number for recycling rate in the state. So we're from 2019, 19%, which is really steady from last year at 20%. So it hasn't moved very much, and solid waste disposal hasn't moved very much either. But overall, 1.6 million tons of recyclables were reported. And this wood waste, mulch, and compost were slightly down. That's part of the number. And paper, glass, and plastics were slightly up. And so, were you going to have the report on screen? Were you, the PowerPoint?
Can you see it? Is it not sharing?
Yeah, I'm not seeing that quite yet.
Let me try it again.
So good, yeah, this chart is really the basis for our metrics. And you'll see MSW generation, this total number of tons. And that's what we use to track progress. And it looks at solid waste disposal as well as materials used for recycling and composting and e-waste. But you see there, landfilling is the big bar. You know, you get 6.2 million tons that go to landfills. And of those facilities in the state, you know, that's 28 facilities that report those numbers. So that kind of dwarfs everything else we do. I would hold up there a minute, but landfill and exports, that's what goes out of state. And we track that from transfer stations. And there's also materials that go directly out of state from haulers, which we look to other states' imports, which they track, which we have to rely on their input. Energy from waste, that's one facility, that's Covana, Indianapolis Resource Recovery Facility, and that's MSW that they collect at that facility. Those are tons. And of course, the recycling, that's where our recycling activity reports, which we really track for the purpose of this report. are the 1.2 million tons of specifically from recycling activity reports. So composting is from another report and retrack. In addition, we track those tons in 100 or so facilities. Yeah, also to mention the recycling, there's 143 facilities submitting recycling activity reports. So e-waste recycling, which Cam's going to talk about, that includes the covered electronic devices, which the e-cycle program handles. So it includes that and more. So it's total e-waste and what we see there for that number. So this is unique for our state, and as going forward, this is the basis that we work from. So yeah, next slide. You can see where our MSW goes, and it mainly goes to landfills, which is obvious. There's 76%. Energy from waste, 5%, but recycling and composting is roughly at 19%. That's the final destination, and so it starts to fill in the gaps. Like what Dan had talked about of information, we're filling in the gaps here. So we establish boundaries, and now we can look at closer to what we're doing and seeing the infrastructure. And okay, next slide. And so another way to look at it is through these metrics, and you see it over years how it's moved or hasn't moved. MSW generation is pretty hasn't moved very much at all. But recycling rates kind of goes up and down, but pretty steady overall. It's unique for Indiana, and these metrics are very broad based. So when you look at recycling rate measurement, it includes wood waste for mulch and compost, as well as the standard recyclables you see in curbside programs. But also MSW generation comes from different sectors. You have the residential sector, in the commercial, institutional, industrial type sectors that also produce MSW recyclables. And so it's almost a 50-50 split. So when we're trying to move the recycling rate measurement, yes, residential contributes to that measurement, but also the other side, the commercial, institutional, industrial side, also contributes quite a bit of impact to how we move that needle. And those sectors require some thought as you're trying to figure out what can we do to improve the total amount of recyclables. So, and we can move on to the next slide. And this is getting back to who's reporting recycling activity reports, and specifically, so it does not include compost and e-waste reports. So this is specifically for recycling activity reports, and you got 143 facilities or the estimated reports, and a variety of companies. You can see it broken out by principal business activity, and this is who we want to have our audience with. And some of the surveys that are being done, yeah, this is the audience that they're working with. And this, when they're identified, we can have them be connected and retrack to submit reports and track that information on an annual basis. But yeah, I could. There's plenty of companies, big companies, small companies, organizations that provide credibility to our reports here, and we have that documented into our system. So just checking. Next slide, but coming through okay on the speakers and everything. You hearing okay? Good.
Yeah.
The shipments of recyclables, that's what we track. We track shipments of recyclables and from a facility. And you see the different destinations where they can indicate where the recyclables go. And so it's broken up by in-state, broker range, or in-state manufacturing, or out-of-state shipments. But these categories on what goes to in-state recycler facilities is going to be heavily represented by solid waste management districts or communities. A lot of their shipments would go to another in-state recycler facility. And so when we look at what GT is doing on the surveys, we look at drop-off programs and curbside programs in the state. When they're identified, a lot of their shipments will be going to another recycler facility, and will show up in that first row. And those other tons, we track for the recycling rate measurements for the other 3 rows. Those are the numbers that we use in our recycling rate measurements. And that's explained in more detail when you go to our full report. The reasoning behind that explained in more detail when you go there and see the, let's see. But yeah, so the next slide we'll talk about material types, tons that have been reported, mainly you see paper and cardboard, majority of the tons being shipped, almost half. This number right here, so we're seeing total tons of 1.3 million tons roughly, or 1.2 million tons roughly from recycling activity summaries. This is where we want to know from manufacturers how many tons of recyclables they're using in state. Since we're generating this data from reports, on the other side of the equation is the surveys where we have end users that indicate, yes, we use recyclables, and how many tons come from Indiana versus how many tons come from out of the state. So we like to compare what we see and being reported to what the end users are saying that they use. And that's why the surveys that GT is doing can provide some of that connection there. And again, we're filling in the gaps with information. So the next slide shows, again, another way to look at the annual shipments of recyclables. And you see the Amazon effect. Paper is kind of the big amount of materials there. Some single streams in there, and you get glass kind of picking up in the later years. So the other includes wood waste. That's where some of the wood waste for mulch would be. This does not, the recycling activity reports do not include compost, because that's submitted in another report. So yeah, next slide. And market destinations, you can see how it's broken out, where they go. Almost half, 45% goes to in-state manufacturers and users, which is pretty good. What's being reported. And so the last slide that we have looking forward is another way to look at the information of the data. And this is like for single stream recycling capacity, and we track that by the same facilities over that time period. And it's, materials like would come from curbside programs, single stream. And so it goes through a single stream sorting material cover facility. And there's 7 facilities specifically that sort single stream in the state. That have been used for this chart, and which handle nearly all of that single stream reporting. But as you can see, the numbers there is roughly a third of single stream is sent out of state for sorting at other facilities. And then about 2/3 of the single stream is done in state. So roughly 200,000 tons in state and 100,000 tons roughly out of state. Those are broad numbers, but it shows you how many tons of single stream is being generated, which I think is kind of important. If you know where we're at this point, and curbside collection and tons of single stream that's being collected. And obviously there's more recyclables coming from the commercial, institutional commercial, or I mean industrial sectors, which do not go to a single stream sorting facility. And so it's another way to fill in the gaps here of materials being moved. And so I guess open up any questions that you may have about the report, but the full reports will be available.
Any questions? Tom, if I may ask you, and thank you for a thorough report, but if I may ask you, do we export more recycled materials than we import for use in the state of Indiana?
Yeah, what was that? We had that one chart. Yeah, when you say export,
we may export it for processing, but a lot of it comes back in state. I didn't know if we would be considered an imports heavy state or an export heavy.
Yeah, for recyclables.
Yes.
And that's the number we'd like to get to from the manufacturer's end user survey. By knowing who these facilities are that use recyclables to make basic products, we can discern how many actual tons are using. And then we can look at how much of that information or tons comes from Indiana. I would expect our in-state manufacturer end users are importing a good amount of recyclables, more than what we generate.
Okay. Obviously, my thought is looking in future years when Indianapolis may be coming online with mandatory recycling, if the IRC's push is successful. And I would support that. Mr. Lutz, if you're on the call, you may want to comment to this, but do we have the resources available to handle that volume would be question one. And I think that would be a significant impact to our circular economy within the state.
Yeah, you can even, like for the city of Indianapolis, as you go into different amounts of materials, to increase capacity by another 100,000 tons, it is a start. And so, yeah, we could discern how many tons it could be generated. But if we only, our current capacity is only 300,000 tons statewide. If you increase it by another 100,000 tons, that's a big change in our current capacity.
Okay.
For single stream, as single stream it is.
I did see for a second, it looked like Craig was going to talk, but he's muted again. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, so this is Craig. It's still kind of tough to answer that question of the projections of how much you would get with that citywide, knowing that the metro markets and the demographics and with the city. So great opportunity to discuss and explore more, as we, look into the future. I can tell you on a Republic standpoint that we did invest and build, and we were fortunate to get a part of the grant with the glass program in our facility here in the Indianapolis market to enhance, upgrade, and allow for more materials. So there's always more. If we can get more material and get it right, as we say, is the good material helps, and then the cleanliness material helps those plants and those machines run a lot more efficient, smoother, and cleanly. But if it's, we all say, is if it's dirty and it's really contaminated stuff, it's going to be tough to run any of that material, no matter how big the size the the population is.
And Craig, those franchises, they're expiring in 2023, correct?
No, sir. It's not till the city contracts and the city collections are all aligned for 2025.
2025, I see. My mistake. Well, I guess that's when we need to be prepared.
We will, or everybody will. I mean, it's exciting times, right? And in a market that is a contentious market, so opportunities to educate, advocate, and promote, right?
Zigzag sorter is working well for you?
Excuse me?
The zigzag sorter is working well for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's working well. It's, you know, obviously it's not to the level of going direct to an end user, but it definitely helps in pushing out a lot of that smalls and the shreddeds and all the other that I don't need to bore anybody with, but it's definitely the product is a lot less in that stream than it was before. So
good. Well, for the board, I mean, it's just another, I guess, another positive outcome.
Yeah,
grant
absolutely.
application and a grant award. So thank you, Craig.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Deanna.
Fine. I think I was going to say, just make sure the board knew that the reports were going to be available or already available on our Teams folder. And then of course we do post them on recycle.in.gov as well.
Okay.
So if we want to, are there any further questions for Tom?
No, thank you Tom for a very thorough overview.
So now we have Cam, he's going to give a little update on our Indiana e-cycle report.
Thanks, Deanna, and thanks, Tom. Really appreciate all the work you do with the data. I know everybody in the office really relies on you for that, so thanks for sharing. And thanks everybody for allowing me to join the meeting today. So as Deanna mentioned, I'm going to talk about the Indiana e-cycle program. A little background on the program. It began on July 1st, 2009. With the purpose to reduce the amount of electronics being sent to landfills. Many electronics contain hazardous substances such as lead, mercury, and cadmium. And the program ensures that these electronics are handled in a safe and responsible way. Electronics recycling also allows for the recovery of valuable materials such as precious metals, glass, plastics, and steel. Some of the key stakeholders in the program are the manufacturers of the electronics, the collectors who collect the material, and of course the recyclers. So, covered electronic devices. We refer to them as CEDs, and these are consumer electronics that are collected and recycled from covered Indiana entities. Those entities are Indiana households, schools, or small businesses. They collect and recycle these materials to meet the manufacturer's recycling obligation. That's a list of the CEDs. I'm not going to go through and read them all. If you guys have any questions about those, I'd be happy to answer them. Next slide. So the manufacturing results for 2019, we had 75 manufacturers registered with the program, which translated to a recycling obligation of about 16.8 million pounds. The new manufacturer recycling obligation for the coming program year will be around 18 million pounds. Collectors results for 2019. We had 99 registered collectors. They collected about 24.8 million pounds of CEDs collected from metropolitan counties and about 4.4 million pounds from non-metropolitan counties for 2019. Recycler results for 2019, we had 23 registered recyclers. They recycled around 27 million pounds in 2019. And since the inception of the program in 2009, there has been over 300 million pounds of CEDs recycled as part of the Indiana E-Cycle program. Outreach efforts. Oh, who's that ugly guy there? We do some outreach efforts for the Indiana E-Cycle program. We attend the state fair. Unfortunately, we didn't this past year due to the pandemic. The IRC's annual conference and various community events throughout the state. We visit solid waste management districts throughout the state and conduct retailer education and compliance initiatives, as well as working with collectors and recyclers on their compliance. And that's it. And if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Cam, this is Julia. Why don't you tell everybody just a little bit more about our recycling event, since it's e-waste related, and for those, I just think it would be good just to share a little bit more than what I shared.
Yeah, no problem. So this next coming Thursday, we are having the first day of a 2-day e-waste collection event here at the Indiana Government Center. It'll be held in Robert Orr Plaza. We're partnering with another technology recyclers. They're a technology electronics recycler based here in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's open to all state employees and the public in general to come in and dispose of any electronics that they want to get rid of. There will be a $10 fee associated with televisions, but the whole idea of having it on 2 days, because many of the state employees are only in the office 1 or 2 days a week, if at all. So we'll have it on a Thursday one week and a Tuesday the following week, which will be the 17th. So we're hoping to have a pretty good turnout and hope to fill a couple trucks loaded full of electronics to keep them out of Indiana landfills. And I can answer any questions about that, should anybody have any.
Thanks, Cam.
Yep.
Mr. Noonan is our resident expert. Do you have any comments?
I'm glad to see that with the data that we're getting collected, that we're taking a step in the right direction. And as far as the municipalities and the counties, we are starting to see some influx now that things are starting to open back up throughout the Midwest. And from an ERI standpoint, we are very busy from the intake, and the consumers out there are asking, the people such as ourselves are asking a lot more questions of where can I take it and what can I do with it? What's the proper way to do it? So I think the education piece is also getting out there and people are being more alert to it. But the biggest thing I've seen with us being located in Plainfield is our intake due to COVID, once the state kind of opened back up on the public receiving piece, has probably tripled because people have had that time to kind of clean some things out, and they're bringing it out, and we were taking it and processing it. But just the overall awareness from the state has grown significantly in probably the last 12 to 18 months. It's great to see that we're moving in that direction.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. And I would add to that as well, from talking to solid waste districts and other collectors and recyclers, they have seen an uptick in material they've received due to the pandemic. So.
Do we have any other questions for Cam from any board members? Hearing none, I thank you, Cam. I appreciate your presentation. Anything else, Deanna?
Bruce, I know that at the last board meeting, we did approve proactively, however you want to say that, these reports to be submitted to the legislature but I think it wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do a roll call approval for these reports to be for their approval, for their submission, for IDEM to submit it on your behalf to the legislature.
All right, can I have a motion to approve and submit these reports as presented?
Motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Noonan. And do I have
I'll second. Craig Lutz.
a second by Mr. Lutz? Any discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Noonan?
Aye.
Mr. Gratz?
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead?
Aye.
Ms. Uyghur?
Yes.
Ms. Hackman?
Yes.
Have I missed anyone? And with that, motion carries. I obviously vote yes as well. My vote, I guess so. But with that, motion carries, and yes, Dan, we'll go ahead and submit them. All right. Now I can go to the next item on the agenda, right, Deanna? Do I have any comments from anyone in the audience? Now, come on, folks. You guys have been holding on here for almost 2 hours. You got to have something to say. Hearing none, we'll move on. Our next meeting is February 1st. And our meeting schedule, if you would like to mark down for 2021, we will have a meeting February 1st, obviously, and then May 6th, August 5th, and October 21st. Is that correct, Deanna?
That is correct, but I have a few notes to share on those schedules. First, if you may have noticed that February date was moved from the first Thursday of the month on February 4th to February 1st, a Monday. This is to hopefully help accommodate some of our legislators. I know that they are in session during this time, so I'm hoping, will that Monday work better for you guys, hopefully? Yes, I know. Yes, I see nods. We are trying to accommodate that, especially since we're going to hopefully have our chief financial officer from IDEM there to report on the budget at that time. So we know that's an important meeting for us to be able to attend. I just wanted to clarify and go back to on the recycling reports. It's only the recycling activity report that the board approves for the legislature. But that board carry would be fine. I just wanted to make that clarification. And I apologize for that confusion. And then finally, if you notice on the next schedule, going back to the 2021 schedule, I have moved the November session up to October 21st. That's 2 weeks earlier. And this is to accommodate the this confusion around the recycling activity report and its submission and deadline to the legislature of November 1st. So we will be able to present it earlier in October, have you guys approve it at that time and meet our deadlines to submit it to the legislatures at by November 1st without having to do some preemptive approvals. I think that covers the schedule. Do you guys have any questions or concerns about the schedule as it's set forth?
It's Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just a quick question. With us being new to the board, as you guys are going in between the months of the meetings, are there going to be times where you guys will reach out and asking for input? What are the things you need from us behind the scenes? Because being new to it, I want to make sure I can support the way I can, but kind of need a little guidance from that standpoint. I hope that's not a dumb question on my part.
Not at all. I appreciate the question. I usually do reach out to you guys as needed. Usually, the more behind the scenes work that needs to be done is during the grant round reviews. So, and I will share a timeline for those in our next meeting in February for next year. It gets pushed back a little bit during budget years for the legislature because we will not know how much we have appropriated for the grant round until typically the end of the session and at the end of April. So usually we start that grant round in May. I'll share with you guys then what we've what we're putting out there, the request for proposals, the schedule of deadlines. And then once we receive the proposals, then that sets another update to you guys in another schedule of time for reviews. There is scoring involved in between the board meetings that I receive and compile, as well as if you review them and have additional information that you want from the applicants, I will, you share those with me and I forward those on to the applicants as well. Some of you board members that have been on the board for a while, am I missing anything?
Maybe we should refresh everyone's memory and explain to the new board members the rules with regard to public meetings and how many can communicate at one time without breaking that public meeting rule.
Sure, I would love to defer to legal. We have Michael and Kathy both on this call. Would one of you guys be able to share the public meeting rules? If they're listening. Okay, oops, there's Michael.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm having technical issues with both my microphone and my speaker. Can you, or my headphone, can you repeat the question?
Bruce, go ahead and repeat the question.
Michael, I just wanted to basically remind and inform the new members of the limitations we have on communication with regard to public meeting rules.
Communications with
fellow board members.
I mean, just make sure that, let me think here. I would try and say that if you have anything to say it during a board meeting. If someone communicates with you, try and bring that to the board as soon as possible. Don't, you know, there are duties to have everything out and in the open here. So if there is something where someone contacts you and asks, hey, I'd like to talk about this or that, make sure that they bring it to the meeting, kind of like we had the few groups talk about today.
I'd like to also add that the statute that involves public meetings has been shared in the board information channel on our Teams page to get the exact details. I don't want to necessarily say something and get it wrong.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me right now, but as far as I just know that the general gist of the statute is everything needs to be open. There's an open door law that requires us to do everything out and above the table. So use your best judgment, and generally that will get you the right way.
Hi, this is Kat.
Yeah, Kathy,
go ahead.
You got more there?
I was just going to say that you want to make sure that all deliberations are done out in the public during the meeting,
Right.
as opposed to a couple of you getting, you know, to the side and discussing any particular grant or any particular applicant's application.
And beyond that, it's also, you want to make sure that if you're speaking with each other, that is also discussed at a board meeting. There's a rule against everybody having kind of de facto board meetings without having a board meeting. And that prevents, you know, kind of any sort of or malfeasance to the public. So if you're going to have talks with each other, make sure either, you know, you write it down, do it all out in the public, and then bring it to the board meeting and discuss what was said. And then everybody needs to make, if there is a decision to make it at that meeting. No decisions can be made behind closed doors. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. If someone, you know, brings a question to you, or if someone asks, you know, hey, can I do this, or can we do this? Or if you're not sure about anything, reach out to Kathy or myself. We're happy to help.
I guess where I was going with it, Michael, is if I call Kelly and discuss an issue with her, that may be acceptable. But if I call Kelly and Andrew Noonan, is it 2 members talking, or is it 3 members talking that require public meeting notice?
I want to say it's 3 members, but just to be safe, I would say talk in, you know, if it's 2 of you talking, talk under the understanding that this is not a meeting, that this is not anything being decided, that this is just the 2 of you in conjecture, you know, discussing what could be discussed. And that's fine. You're allowed to talk to each other. Just don't make it in any sort of a way official board business. And the more people you add, you're right about that. 2, 3, 4 people, it starts to look. And I think if you're looking at the statute that Deanna is showing here, it says 2 or more. So I would say avoid talking any official business unless there is an official, either an item person with you or it's a board meeting.
Okay.
It's probably the safest way to be. You know, there might be a gray area in there, but avoid even doing that if possible.
If you see here too, there is some clarification on what a meeting means. So, you know, if there's a social or chance gathering not intended, you know, it says that there in the statute.
Yeah.
On-site inspections, traveling to and attending meetings. So.
And I know there's a majority thing there. I'm pretty sure, and I haven't looked at this for a while because it doesn't come up very often. There is a rule against having sort of like a meeting in time. So like you talk with one person one day, one person the next day, one person the next day, one person the next day. There's also a prohibition against that. So, and again, use your common sense. Nobody's going to have an issue if everything is done above the board and you guys aren't trying to fudge the rules here. And I don't think anybody will.
Very good. I just wanted to make sure we went over that with the new board members, and everyone tries to maintain compliance. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Any other issues we need to discuss? Well, I thank all the new members once again. And when the grants come out, if they're as wonderful as they were last year and the year before, there'll be a lot of studying to do. So we appreciate your time in advance. We look forward to a good grant round. And I believe in August, we'll find out how much money we have available. Would that be correct, Julia?
February.
Oh, February, we will know.
We should know in February. That should be part of our conversation.
Very good.
Well, let me clarify that, I guess. In February, we will hopefully have a report on the balance in the funds and the revenue received in the last year. We won't know appropriation of grant funding for next year until later, until the items budget is approved.
Right. Okay.
Will we be requesting $2 million for the next, each year, the biennium?
This is Julia. I think that would be our intent, you know, just given the pandemic that we are currently confronting. But yeah, I think that was the decision that was made earlier.
Great. If there's anything that we as legislators can do to assist, just let us know.
Okay. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
And I do want to say hello to Allison Mitchell. I see you're on the call now. Thank you very much for joining us. With nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. This is Kelly.
Motion by Ms. Uyghur. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Gratz. We can, all in favor,
Aye.
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 Andrew?
Aye.
I vote aye. Have I missed, Miss Hackman?
Aye.
No, I believe I have everyone. With that, the motion carries. I thank you all very much for your time and your today. We're getting a little bit better on these Zoom, and hopefully the next one will be even more smooth. So thank you very much, Deanna, for your efforts. Thank you for your time. And Tom, always for your expertise. Everyone have a great day. Thank you, Pat,
Thanks,
as well.
everyone. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bruce.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bruce.